Lake Michigan. Behold its majesty. For hundreds of years, the alluring shoreline of this great lake have been the destination for breathtaking scenic views, as well as prime location for luxury housing development. This great expanse has long been treasured by the inhabitants of its shores. Unfortunately, in the last few years, as some of you have surely noticed, our beaches have been shrinking. Beaches, along with buildings and structures near the shoreline, are being threatened because of the erosion that is taking place, and it is not uncommon to see homes left desolate because of the danger.
Shoreline erosion is a natural process that takes place along the shores of every body of water, though certain natural factors such as water levels and wave height determine the severity of the destruction. Methods of erosion prevention, such as seawalls and rock revetments, which protect housing along bodies of water, have caused waves to quickly deplete the many beaches of all the shoreline sand. Areas along the shore that are eroding at an average rate of 1 foot or more per year over the past 15 years have been dubbed high-risk erosion areas. You can see all these areas in this map of Lincoln Township, such as Grand Mere. These areas are lacking both natural and man-made erosion protection, thus causing their increased rate of erosion compared to areas with protection. Waves are the most destructive form of erosion. Waves become destructive near the shore because the water gets shallower, forcing the waves to break and push the sand outward. When waves are large enough to make it to unprotected sand structures on shore, they can destroy the integrity of sand structures and eventually wash them away.
The rise of water levels in Lake Michigan is a process that is unstoppable. The only control that we as humans have is the restriction of erosion as the waves beat on the shore. Erosion is caused by the unstableness of sand on the shore. When waves crash on shore, unstable sand and soil is set loose from the sand structure and falls down to be swept away with the waves. So to counteract this depletion of the beach and shoreline, people have two options. Either weaken the force of the wave before they are able to make contact with the shore, or strengthen the shoreline enough so that it is impervious to the constant breaking of waves on its surfaces. There are many ways to do these things, but we have narrowed it down to the three most prevalent strategies in our area. The three types are either natural vegetation, breakwaters, or seawalls. The first technique that we are going to discuss is the natural prevention of soil erosion through the correct applications of natural vegetation. The root systems of plants act as a natural barrier that restricts the movement of sand. A perfect example of this is at the outlooks in St. Joseph. Dense vegetation restricts that erosion on the steep bluff leading to the lake by keeping the sand and soil from falling toward the beach below. If this was not the case, erosion would be dangerously close to endangering the road and the buildings on the bluff itself. The problem with using natural vegetation for the protection of houses already dealing with erosion is that the plants might have been already removed. Many people remove the trees and plants near the shore because it restricts the view of the lake for the residents. Once a tree and its roots are removed, it is a lengthy process to plant and wait for another to develop a root system adequate enough to stop the sand from eroding. If you do need to remove plants, it is recommended that you leave the root systems in the ground so that it can remain as a barrier for the sand. This technique is great for bluffs that do not experience direct waves, but plants alone are not adequate enough to protect sand from eroding when hit by strong waves. The root systems will not be able to hold up to the constant beating of the water. A second technique that is utilized to protect from erosion are breakwaters. Breakwaters restrict erosion by breaking up the waves before they hit shore. They often come in the form of large boulders or concrete slabs that protrude from the surface of the water. The idea of using such large, heavy objects is that they need to be large enough to embrace the powerful force of crashing waves. If the rocks are strong enough to handle the breaking waves, then the force of the water will be dampened before they reach the shore where they can cause erosion. An example of this is at the bluff near the outlooks in St. Joseph across the street from the Hilltop intersection. A row of large boulders span across the length of the beach, dampening the waves before they reach the shore where they can cause substantial destruction. Problems arise with breakwaters when they are placed wrong. When the structures are set too close together, they affect the movement of sand and result in unwanted sand buildup. Also, if the waves are large enough, the breakwater will be deemed useless and the wave will cause destruction on the shore. Not only this, but the placement of such structures are expensive and lead to a less than attractive view from the lake at the shore. A third structure that prevents erosion is a seawall. Seawalls are vertical concrete or wood structures that both take the brunt of the force created by the waves and restrict the outward movement of sand from a bluff. We often see a combination of breakwaters and seawalls in our area called revetments. You will see piles of rocks and concrete slabs along the shoreline in front of houses that both break up the waves and restrict the outward movement of sand. In one area in St. Joseph, below the bluff, crushed cars are used in the place of concrete or wood, serving as a barrier between the water and the incline to the beach. The concept of a vertical seawall is flawed because when waves hit the wall, they will direct force down, creating deep water in front of the wall, eliminating all beach that was once there and depriving the wall of its support on one side, eventually causing the destruction of the seawall. Dave Wolf, the owner of Oselco Construction, is certain that the best way to prevent erosion is with revetments. His company leads Marion County in the number of revetments that they build each year. The process to build a revetment consists of the setting down of small fist-sized rocks on a shallow slope, and then the buildup of larger boulders on that same slope. This allows for the waves to break on the larger rocks and prevents the runoff of sand because of the smaller rocks. It is vital that the revetments be large enough so that waves cannot go over the top of them. These before and after pictures demonstrate what a revetment can do to save an eroded bluff. It might be tempting to attempt to build a structure yourself, but inadequate structural support and the wrong height could leave you with a mess of stones and wood washing out into the lake. If your protection is inadequate, it will end up looking similar to this. The cost to build a revetment is around $1,000 per foot of beach. Extensive permits are needed to build such a structure, including going through the Department of Environmental Quality, Army Corps of Engineers, and the County Drain Commission. It is well worth the money and time though, because the alternative is the inevitable destruction of valuable land.
The height of lake water greatly affects the extent of erosion we see on our coastline, but lake waters in Lake Michigan fluctuate drastically over the years without following any specific cycle. Without guarantees for the future of lake water levels and shoreline erosion, if we are to prevent the loss of our beaches and coastal structures, action must be taken to build erosion-preventing structures such as seawalls and breakwaters, in addition to the prevention of the removal of natural plants and vegetation along our bluffs. With our efforts, our homes and land can be saved. On behalf of the community ecology group Crunchy Spingus, we would like to thank you for watching our presentation on erosion. We would additionally like to thank Mr. Dave Wolf for giving us a crash course on erosion and assisting us in our collection of data. Drone shots are done by Ben Bazicki, filming by Noah Collins, Jack Blommel, Ben Bazicki, and Austin Straczynski. Thank you.